Undertone is a new horror movie brought to us by Ian Tuason. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and what I believe is his directorial debut. This movie stars Nina Kiri. She plays this girl named Evie. She runs this podcast called Undertone with a co-host that we never see in the movie. She only communicates with him via, speakerphone, telephone. And the podcast they run talks about a bunch of paranormal activity, demonic possession, invasive spirits, everything along those lines. And her friend plays the believer in that sort of role. She, however, is a skeptic. She's the one who thinks this is all ridiculous, it's bullshit, people just want views, want attention, blah, blah, blah. During one episode, though, they receive an email from an anonymous source with 10 different audio clips of this couple who progressively in each clip are going through what sounds like some really sort of demonic disturbance and possession and some really creepy shit. And each one they uncover and start listening to, Evie starts experiencing some really unsettling stuff in her house where she lives with her dying mother. This is a movie that slowly started getting traction with me, namely for what it was advertised as, with I think like one line from one critic describing it as the most terrifying movie you will ever hear. Like, we've heard most terrifying movie you'll ever see 100 million times. When people say that, you're kind of like, all right, whatever. But when you say the words here, that's not something we've, ironically heard before. And the idea that it's done through a podcast, I mean, that's really all I knew about it. But it was enough there to make me think, all right, I'll give it a look. As far as directorial debuts by Ian Tuason go, in terms of trying to make a name for yourself in the horror genre, I thought he really crushed it here. Nina Kiri also deserves a lot of credit in the role of Evie in this movie because she's really the only character that we get super familiar with. I mean, she has her co-host, but we never see him throughout this movie. She has her dying mother in her house, but she doesn't really do all that much. She's kind of just there. This is the Nina Kiri show, and I thought she did a phenomenal job because what's really great about her character is she's someone who doesn't believe in any of this. So when, she and her co-host start uncovering more of this mystery that has been brought to them and some, disturbing elements might be going on, slowly you start to see her slip into what they're really starting to uncover and the really messed up shit she's starting to realize might actually be true. But what the movie does a really good job with her character is it does an amazing job situationally at putting you in her shoes. Like, what I thought the movie did that was so impressive in the atmosphere and its tone and its ability to make you feel something is, in a lot of moments, what the movie will do that's really smart is Nina could be listening in on some audio clips from this disturbing email on the podcast, or she could just be chilling in her home and you could hear something go on, or the camera will pan a little bit to her sitting like right there and a really dark room being like right there, right? And in that moment, it's smart because that's exactly how you would feel in a situation. We've all been in these scenarios where we maybe been watching a scary movie at home alone, or we listen to something really scary alone, and then all of a sudden, those dark areas in the house, or wherever it is we live, all of a sudden, we're kind of paying a little closer attention to them because fear has just gone to us at this point, and everyone is terrified of the dark. And that's what this movie does so well, is playing to that fear of the unknown. When they are going through these audio clips and, they're learning more and more about certain messages that might be hidden in them, all of a sudden, you feel like you're finding out more about what's behind the sort of thing, but you don't know for sure what's going to happen. It plays into that fear of the unknown. Like when it pans over to a dark room, you feel like you should be paying attention more to something that is there because the movie makes you think that because you're looking into whatever could be out there. The movie wants you to believe that way. It plays with your head a little bit, and I thought that was great. I will say, when it comes to the scares in this movie, though, it does take a little while for this movie to really get going. For, I want to say, the first third of the movie, it is pretty slow. We're just learning about Evie and what she's dealing with her mom and the situation she's in, a little bit about her personal life. I understand why the movie does that, because as the story unfolds, these certain things about Evie that we learn about actually playing a lot more to the whole horror mystery that is in here. But undeniably, if you want to go into this movie and you want to be, you know, sucked into fear and scares, it doesn't happen immediately. But when it comes, it's worth it. Because the biggest thing that this movie needs to get credit for, and I think what's going to set this movie aside from other horror movies that we've experienced as of recent, is it does play into what we've been told. This is a movie that heavily relies on audio to affect the audience, and it works. Like when you hear the audio clips that are being sent to these podcasters and you're hearing what they hear and there's some really disturbing stuff going on, you obviously can't see what's happening, but you're hearing what's going on and you just know something really messed up is happening. Or even in Evie's own house, when shit unfolds and she hears something, she's looking for something, and certain things here and there might be going on, but you can't see what it is. It is that perfect blend of this really scary, horrific sort of sound and not knowing what it is, and blending that together that really makes it effective. It takes, you know, terrifying sounds and blends it with the unknown. And you can't do it better than that. Like, this is a movie that relies on jump scares or disturbing imagery or graphic violence because it doesn't need to. It relies on its audio, and that's really impressive. Even like the minor details with the audio, like when Evie puts on her headset, she gets locked into the podcast, like you start hearing like, you know, the way, you know, she's maybe hearing the regular world and to what she hears when she puts the headset on. I don't know, it's minor details like that that make you feel like you're a part of that experience. There's even a line that they use in this movie that I really thought was effective. It's like, don't be afraid of the dark, be afraid of the silence. And that made perfect sense. Because that's ultimately what does go down in this movie. Like, yeah, for as well as it relies on its audio to scare people, when nothing's happening, but the atmosphere is intense and it's chilling and it's just silence, you're just waiting for something to drop. You're sitting there unnerved and trying to prepare yourself for whatever it could be. And I love that. The movie kept you on the edge of your seat pretty much the entire time. I will say this, I do think the ending of the movie was a little bit unfulfilling. In that sense, it's like, okay, we've kind of reached a conclusion to what maybe is going on here. We start to understand how this is all connected to Evie and everything that's in her life. And then the movie kind of does a whole cut to black and it's done kind of deal. I feel like at the end of that movie, the movie really could have honed more into the more horror elements. We could have gone for the more disturbing imagery, messed up stuff happening. We could have seen more of what it is. Now, I understand why the movie didn't want to do that. It wanted to hone into, you know, using its audio and using, like, you know, that fear of the unknown to really get to you. But I feel like it is in that moment they could have really gone for it and really just giving you that nightmare fuel to be like, boom, here it is in all its glory. Have fun not sleeping for a week. Instead, they didn't. I do think that's an area where they should have to really give you that satisfying conclusion. But all in all, I thought Undertone was a really well-made horror movie. Nina Kiri, I thought, was great in this movie. As really the only character we get to see in this movie. I thought she completely sold for what we needed in a movie like this. The atmospheric tone is excellent. The way the movie uses its sound and its audio to really fuck with you is insane. The fact that it scared the shit out of me on more than a few occasions, simply with that, that's impressive. I love that it played into the fear of the unknown. I do wish we got maybe a little bit more clarity at the end and really maybe swung for the fences just a little bit more. It does take a while to get going, but once it gets going, it does hook you. And in the end, I really hope this movie does well for itself at the box office, especially given the fact that Ian Tuason made something like this with a $500,000 budget, which is peanuts by Hollywood standards. I would love to see this movie do well, give him a real Hollywood budget, and really see what kind of magic he could make with that. I think it could be impressive. I'm gonna give Undertone a 7 out of 10, which makes this one worth going to the movies for.
All right, come on, hurry up, Brian. I don't want to miss the movie trivia slides before the movie.
I didn't even get to see this one in Dolby, but I guess if you can, try to check it out in that format. I'm sure that's something else. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.